Welcome back to Cure for the Common Game. Today, in deck number 697, we're going to talk about Losheel, the Clockwork Scholar. Now, this is from Commander 21, the Strixhaven Commander, is what we tend to call it. So, for 3 mana, we get a 2/4 Elephant Artificier. Prevent all combat damage that would be dealt to attacking artifact creatures you control. Wow. Whenever one or more artifact creatures enter the battlefield under your control, draw a card. This ability only triggers once each turn. That's awesome. Now, this is 2 very good abilities that we can use. The very first thing I thought of when I saw Losheel is this is a mono white aggro artifact creature. The very first creature I thought of was Juggernaut. The problem with Juggernaut is it has to attack. I mean, it's fairly cheap, 4 mana, 5 power, or it was back then. But it has to attack, so it dies. But it can't take combat damage while it's attacking, so, and it has to attack. So that's where my mind went. Before we get into the artifact creatures, we have some ramp, and I mean a bunch. Okay. Here we go, and I'll be honest with you, this may be a little too much. We have Wayfarer's Bauble, Soul Ring. Now, there are some artifact creatures in here like Scuttlemutt. I do like the fact that it can give you a white mana, but it being an artifact creature is also a thing there. I tried to use as many artifact creatures more than possible because every turn that you play it doesn't matter if you play 1 artifact creature or if you play 5, you're only going to get 1 card draw. So I really wanted cheaper creatures to start off with to get that card draw, right? So Scuttlemutt, Plague Mirror, Hedron Crawler, Opaline Unicorn. I'm counting the Foundry Inspector as ramp because there's a significant portion of the deck it makes cheaper, right? Burnished Heart, Pilgrim's Eye, those things. But then we have Star Compass, Guardian Idol, Marble Diamond, Gift of Estates, Prismatic Lens, Mind Stone. To the Ramos, that's right. I went that deep. Worn Power Stone, Seer's Lantern, Everflowing Chalice, Paradise Plume, Hedron Archive. Oh, I love that border. It just looks right. But Strixhaven Stadium, I mean, it does tap for colorless. At the end of the day, that's the only thing you can guarantee, right? Is that it's going to tap for a colorless. But in the right situation, it could be a way to eliminate a player. I don't know. It's one of those things you can't bank on. But if it gets there, it gets there. It's kind of like Maze's End, right? Archaeomancer's Map. Now, I kind of like this. This is a new one. It's one of the new cards from the Commander set. When it enters the battlefield, you get 2 planes, put them in your hand. But when a land enters the battlefield under opponent's control, if they got more than you can land drop. So here again, White's still playing catch up. This is probably good with land tax long term, because you're going to play out those 2 planes pretty quickly. And then we have Expedition Map. I saved this till the end specifically for a purpose. Because there is a lot of colorless cards in here, I figured Expedition Map, search your library for a land card. It does not say basic. You can do any. So you can get Urza's Mine, Urza's Power Plant, or Urza's Tower. Whichever one you need to complete your tree, right? So it's definitely good early, if you just need that bump, or it's good late to put Thran together. Now, the other thing I thought really hard on was Thran Temporal Gateway. This thing, you may put a historic permanent from your hand in the battlefield, 4 to cast, 4 to use. Uh, and I was like, okay. Because this is a way that we can put a creature into play on an opponent's turn and get that card draw. Right? So, but it taps. So I said, okay, we'll play Voltaic Key, Manifold Key, Galvanic Key, and most importantly, the Clock of Omens. Love the Clock of Omens. Tap 2 untapped artifacts you control to untap target artifact. Now, tapping the 2 artifacts is a cost that does not... Summoning Sickness? No, you can tap sick creatures if they happen to be artifact creatures to untap target artifacts so that you can... And you're playing 1, right? Off your gateway, so... A little more card draw with the Sandstone Oracle. Now let's get to some artifact creatures, shall we? We have Memnite, Ichorclaw Mirror. Why not? Junk Diver, I foresee doing some work here. Because, it's going to get most of what we got. Shimmermere, also another way, being able to cast artifact spells like they had Flash. Another way to get those creature drops on opponent's turns to get that extra card draw. Sliversmith, there are no slivers in the deck. It's just, but this creates an artifact creature. We can ditch a card to make a metallic sliver. Now, Chief of the Foundry, of course, being a champion for the team. Traxos, I kind of had to. Another also good thing for the Clock of Omens, you can keep it untapped. Nobody wants to swing into a Traxos, right? The Golden Guardian transforms nicely. Scratch Roller. Mage Ring Responder. We got the Mirror Ball, the Battlesphere. I like it. Sanctum Gargoyle. But let's look at some of the new ones, shall we? The Triplicate Titan. Now, this is the logical next step up from the Worm. I'm having trouble with the name of the Worm. You know, the one that splits it into a 3/3 lifelink and a 3/3 death touch. This is a 9/9 for 9 with Flying Vigilance and Trample, and when it dies, it splits up into 3, 1 with each of those abilities. 3 3/3s. So, thought that was kind of neat. Angel of the Ruins enters the battlefield, exile up to 2 target artifacts or enchantments. It does Plane Cycle, but it's a 5/7 flyer. We don't have a whole lot of flyers in the deck, so I'm pretty sure we're going to cast it instead of cycle it. And then another new one is the Bronze Guardian. Now, this is insane. I love this card. Double Strike. Now, it only has a 5 toughness. It has Ward 2 and gives your other artifacts Ward 2. Now, this is they're trying to power down Hexproof. Its Ward will always be followed by a factor, whether it be mana or life payment or whatever. They can target it if they pay the cost. But then its power is equal to the number of artifacts you control. And it has Double Strike. So, we have some white cards that play friendly. Of course, the Ritual of Restoration. All that glitters, that's going to make some artifact creature nuts right there. Or our commander, Elephants for the win. Tempered Steel. Tempered Steel is one of those cards you're always trying to find a use for. If this was in any other color, we wouldn't care. Like, if this was a green card, 3 mana plus 2 to your team, you'd be like, oh, okay. But for some reason, when it's in white, you're like, yeah, I get to use Tempered Steel. Do have a Ghostly Prison and an Armored Ascension, because there again, we do have mostly planes. Granted, we have a lot of non-basics. But we do have, I don't know, what, 20 or so planes, so, eh. Now, let's look at our removal. Now, I did put the Meteor Golem and Steel Hellkite in the removal category because, let's face it, that's what they are. I mean, Steel Hellkite is... that can get nuts real quick. When you're deck building, have you noticed... one thing I've noticed over the past, I don't know, 5 or 6 months is if you deck build by converted mana cost, I do a row per... and the 3 CMC slot, I mean, there's a bunch. Because, 2 there's some, because you got your low-cost mana rocks, but most of your mana rocks are 3. In the 1, 2, 3 category there. So, yeah, tokens are 0, so, yeah. Anyway, we have Dispeller's Capsule, had to be in there. Dispatch, which is quite the good card if you have Metalcraft, and there's a good chance that we will. Disenchant, Oblation, Oblivion Ring, Return to Dust, Rebuff the Wicked. I like Rebuff the Wicked. Counterspell that targets a permanent you control. Now, that's a very white thing, but most people don't think of white being the counterspell color. Had Lapse of Certainty out. It just didn't make it into the deck. Sword to Plowshare. Darksteel Mutation. Now, green has a lot of these type cards in play but useless because a lot of decks rotate around the commander, and needing that commander in play, the strategy of the deck rotates around the commander's abilities, like this one. So, if you can, if you kill it, it just goes back to the command zone. They to recast it again and again and again. Eventually, you have to kill it a whole bunch to get it to where it's out of their mana range. But this, it's in play but useless. It just changes it into a 0/1 with no abilities, but it has indestructible. So they can't just chump block with it and it die and go back. No. It's indestructible. And then we have a Condemn. Let's look at our non-basic lands, shall we? Got a couple of the cycling lands. The Drifting Meadow, Desert of the True, Ancient Den. I mean, it's counting it as that artifact. Running a Flagstones of Trocare. Because if it dies, you still get a Plains, right? I mean, there are random effects out there. If not, it adds a white. So, Rogue's Passage is going to help with that insane pump spells, right? Ash Barrens, Temple of the False God, Stalking Stones, because it turns into a 3/3. Phyrexia's Core. I mean, Phyrexia's Core is not so much about the life gain, but a lot about the sacrifice. Because if you can get the Junk Diver, the Triplicate Titan, and the Phyrexian Core going, that's pretty sweet. And if, theft is a problem. There's a lot of blue decks, just decks in general, that operating on playing, stealing other people's cards, creatures, whatnot. I'll sack it before I have to fight it, right? Of course, we have the Darksteel Citadel, and lastly, the Ghost Quarter. So that is how I built Losheel. Kind of like it. I have not had a chance to play this yet. But looking forward to it, maybe tomorrow. But that is 697. Wow, that's moving right along. And we are crooked. There we go. So, we will put 697 on the wall. 3 to go. Anybody excited about 700? I know I am. I'm going to try to do a thing. I don't know the time crunch around the time that's going to be out is going to be kind of different for me. But, yeah. Anyway. That is what we've got. I do appreciate y'all watching. And right now, it is time to shuffle and cut.